Carolina Panthers. Dead last, obviously, in the South a year ago, but they made some big additions this offseason. Turk Wharton comes over from KC to play next to Derek Brown there. Trayvon Merrick comes over to play safety from the Las Vegas Raiders. Gave, obviously, J.C. Horn a big deal. Brought Michael Jackson back, Tommy Tremble back. The draft, though, is where I think they really shined this offseason. Tetairoa McMillan, Nick Scorton, Prince Luman-Mielen, Trevor Etienne. I think they got at least in that first and second rounder 2 impact players at 2 very valuable positions that, let's be honest, they needed impact. They stunk at a year ago. So I love those. We'll see if it makes an impact right out the gate. But I went B+. I think it was more good than bad. It was things going in the right direction. But this was so bad a year ago that it's more than a one-off season turnaround. But this is how you kick things off, I'll say.
Yeah, I'm going B+ as well. And Tetairoa McMillan is a clear winner at, the number 8 spot in the first round for the Carolina Panthers. And if I'm a GM, my thought process is, let's find out what our strengths of our football team are and let's make them stronger. Everybody's always worried about the weaknesses. I'd say let's just make our strengths really strong. And so take the Bengals, for example, with Joe Burrow. They went and they got both of their monsters done, and they're going to be in Cincinnati for a while. And for the Carolina Panthers, Bryce Young has been a guy who has really shined for them, and he has, like a phoenix, he's risen from the ashes, and we love to see that because, like I was talking about with Aiden Hutchinson, we don't want to beat guys up when they're down. We want to pick them up, and they're going to have exactly that with McMillan at the receiver position. You mentioned Turk Wharton coming over from Kansas City, a guy who is a pass rush specialist on the interior. Take it from me, someone who tried to block Turk Wharton, he gets your edges very quickly. He's laterally efficient with his moves, and he has enough power to threaten the bull rush department. I'm going to go B+ with the Panthers. It's going to be fun to watch this team continue to bloom because they've got pieces at the right spots now. They're just filling in their roster.
Yeah, I loved what they did in free agency in terms of not going after the big ticket guys, like not thinking that one Josh Sweat turns you around or one $25 million a year DT turns you around. No, it's like you got to hit just a few good players. You just need some baseline to this roster. You don't need superstars. You need to set a foundation, and I think they did that well in free agency, and I think their draft strategy played it really well as well. So 6.5 wins is their Vegas over-under total. I think that's probably fair until we really see what Bryce Young looks like this year with this receiving core, and if this defense can turn things around at all from a year ago. But it wouldn't surprise me if this team competes for the South. South's still very much up for grabs. I think anyone could be holding that trophy come into this upcoming season. New Orleans Saints. Now, the one team who may not be able to compete for that trophy, that is if Derek Carr is unable to play. I just don't see it happening for the Saints if that's the case. But they had an offseason where, they did not act like it was a rebuild. They acted like they're still fully in the thick of things. They re-signed Chase Young. They added Justin Reed, added Devon Godshaw, lost Paulson Adebo. I love their draft, truthfully. Like, I can't hate on the actual players they signed. Justin Reed's a great safety. Their draft, I thought the value they got from Kelvin Banks, from Vernon Broughton, Jonas Sanker, Danny Stutzman, I believe all those guys. Sanker was a little lower on my board, but all the other guys were much higher on my board than where they came off. And, it was good. It just gets a C from me because I think they are kicking the can still. It's just the strategy of still pushing the cap to the limit, still trying to act like we're a playoff team when your engine's gone. Your quarterback's hurt. If Derek Carr truly is not going to play this season, it's like putting new rims on a car without an engine, right? It's just, what are you going to do?
Read the room. Prioritize.
Taking out a loan to put a speaker system in a car you can't ride. It's just fiscally irresponsible. That's why I'm going C. But if we just go player by player, I actually think they did a great job of evaluating their free agency and their draft. It's just this Saints team is, and just I'm looking right now at the future year cap. You want to take a guess at how much over the cap they are already for 2026?
$28 trillion.
No, they're not the U.S. government. They are the New Orleans Saints. $42 million over the cap next season already.
Not good. You know what is good? By the way, C-. I'll go lower than you. But we'll go with the positives here. Kelvin Banks Jr., ready to play. Roll him out the tunnel and get him playing football. Throw him on whatever hell number he's going to wear and just let him go kick ass. We like a lot of the guys on the offensive line for the New Orleans Saints. I repeat, we like the New Orleans Saints offensive line. So whoever's back there,
great run blocking line,
is going to have some ass kickers up there in the run game, set up the heavy play action stuff. You throw Kelvin Banks at tackle, you kick one of your tackles inside a guard. Boom, you've got a unit now. You've got a unit. Retain that unit. Read the room. That's the unit that you keep. And then everybody else, you have to pay the tolls or not pay. And you got to understand that you're not in the thick of the Super Bowl contention right now. So get your books right and get ready to do this thing down the road.
We'll see. It's tough to be a Saints fan right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of you out there. But it's because you're not – the worst problem is they're not bad. This isn't a bad football team. They could easily – if Derek Carr is healthy, they could win 9 or 10 games, and I wouldn't bat an eye.
Yeah,
now, they'd have to stay very healthy because they're very thin, but they could win 9 or 10 games. It's just they're objectively not a Super Bowl contender. And that 9 or 10 win season, you will only do the exact same thing next year and just sort of pick a few more pieces off of it because you can't keep paying guys and you'll lose another Paulson Adebo. You'll lose, another Ryan Ramczyk or someone's, you're going to lose Cam Jordan and Demario Davis soon because they're 35 years old and going to retire. Like you are going to start losing more and more pieces each offseason. And so you're basically saying we're going to outpace from a draft perspective the talent we add with what we're losing and keep, pushing it to the limit from a cap perspective. But it just, at some point, you just got to pay the piper and realize that 7 or 8 wins ain't worth the long-term flexibility that you could be having right now. Atlanta Falcons. A relatively tame free agency period for a team with a rookie quarterback, but that's obviously because they're not paying just the rookie quarterback. They're still paying Kirk Cousins this offseason. What they do with him in terms of trade, cutting, is still a TBD. No one really knows what's going on. Obviously, they'd love to get something in return from him, but given how he played down the stretch last year, I don't see that happening. Their big additions, Divine Diablo at linebacker, Leonard Floyd off the edge, Mike Ford. The real big addition, though, it came in the draft. Came with those 2 first-rounders, Jalen Walker, James Pierce, and then Xavier Watson the third. I think all those guys end up starting or seeing close to starting snaps for this Falcons team.
Yeah, and don't forget about Billy Bowman as well. Good player.
Just slot corner.
I mean, that guy can be everywhere on the football field. And there's a lot of uses for a guy like that. You talked about Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. I mean, this was the issue, right? That the first and second level of this defense, not only at times in the run game, but the lack of pass rush was really a concern for the Atlanta Falcons. So they addressed that. I'm really excited to watch Michael Penix go to work because what I remember from Michael Penix Jr. was him going toe-to-toe with Jaden Daniels in Washington, D.C. in prime time, and the nation just being like this. Or everybody firing up those tweets where it's like, I guess they were right. They should have drafted him. This is good. It's his team. Atlanta's going to be a lot of fun to watch. They've got some edge rushers. I'm going to give them a B+. And you know what? I was looking at this list, and there's a retained section, and Jake Matthews is right there, a staple for the Atlanta Falcons. For a second, I thought it said retired, and I had a panic, man, I feel old moment. But we're good. Jake Matthews still earning the dough, still protecting the backside.
I went B-. I was a little less. I didn't love trading the future first. To me, I've obviously explained why. It feels like what a GM who's never made the playoffs does when he knows that if he doesn't make the playoffs again, he loses his job. And it just didn't feel like your best long-term decision-making to do something of that nature. But obviously that's kind of the nature of this business, is that when you do give GMs a longer leash, sometimes when they're at the end of it, they make plays that they shouldn't be making, or that not say they shouldn't be making, but like that aren't in their best long-term interest because they have to save their jobs. And so that's what that felt like to me. We'll see obviously how it turns out and what that first round pick ends up being. but you better hope, given what they gave up, you basically have to have a top 10 sort of evaluation on James Pierce to make it worth your while. I did not. Some people did. So I can't know that right now and say that's for sure a dumb move. We shall see. What I think is a dumb move, though, is losing Drew Dahlman at center, who was hurt last year, who didn't play the whole season, but losing him at center and backfilling with nobody. They added Joshua Gray as a UDFA. That's the only addition to this offensive line.
He must have had a damn good workout.
Because this offensive line, I mean, it's fine, but it's like it's a fine run blocking offensive line. It was already kind of giving up something in pass protection at times last year. We saw Kirk Cousins getting roasted throughout last season. It is not a plus pass protecting offensive line by any means. Caleb McGarry, Matthew Bergeron, issues up front. They didn't add to it at all. Now, Michael Penix has great pocket presence. He gets the ball out quickly. He doesn't take a lot of sacks.
But he's also got a long line on injury history. We got to take care of this guy.
But that's the injury history and the fact that now your guy who was the backup filling in is now the starter. Well, what if he goes down? Who's your backup to the backup from last year? I do worry about the depth, that if anyone gets hurt up front, you are putting in like Storm Norton. You're putting in Elijah Wilkinson. You're putting in guys you don't want to be playing for you. You don't have a competent 6, 7, 8 offensive lineman there in Atlanta. Let me tell you this.
You're on a fast track there in Atlanta. That's turf. And when you're an offensive lineman, you pray that you don't have to play on turf. So if you're less than skilled or less than skilled relative to the starters, you're going to have a lot of issues on the turf. And Michael Penix could be running for his life. Where do you think Kirk Cousins is going to end up? I have a theory.
I really don't know at this point. I don't know who would want him. I think he's going to get cut outright and sign on to be a backup somewhere for like really cheap, maybe like a backup to a young quarterback, I would think, to try to mentor him, someone who's drafted someone recently. What was your thought? Let me think about it for a second.
Okay. You tell me what I'm going to say. What do you think I'm going to say here?
Chicago Bears?
No. This guy has earned $300 million in his career, okay? I saw him on the desk. I believe it was for Monday Night Football.
Oh, that's right.
Like off the sideline, they have the cool desk down at the field. He was on there. He was fantastic. He was, yuck, khaki pant. Like, America will love this guy if they see more of him. And I thought he was really well-spoken. I think one of these networks is going to give him an offer he can't refuse. They love quarterbacks up there on those desks, Mike. You know this.
Plus, if he goes, like, the more you spend as a backup, the more kind of your stock dwindles as an analyst, because, no
they want starters.
Backup quarterback analysts. They want the guy who just came from being a starter, leaves, and now he's on the booth. So I actually like that take. That's a good take. Not that we need anyone taking our jobs here, but that's a good take.
I'll give Kirk a run for his money.
Last team here, and then we wrap up the North and South. Tampa Bay Bucs, your winners from a year ago. Their key additions, Hassan Reddick, they added to rush the passer, obviously from the Jets and his saga.
I remember that guy.
Yeah, dude. They wanted out from that contract as soon as they traded for him. Anthony Walker, the linebacker, comes over to play next to Levante David as well. Not a lot of key losses because they were able to retain Chris Godwin, Levante David. Guys want to play for the Bucs, it seems like. They got something building special there. And I love this draft class, man. Emeka Egbuka, Benjamin Morrison, Jacob Parrish, David Walker. All value picks in my eyes, all positions where they needed
Tez Johnson can go too.
And then Tez Johnson could be like your third down cheat code. When you see man coverage, just take it his way because that guy can get open. This was a straight A. Close to an A+ for me. But for Tampa Bay Bucs team that I thought did exceptionally well to transition from Brady to obviously another now franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield and not really have this big drop off because they did go all in a little bit from a cap perspective to win that one. I think they're back in the thick of it. This is a team that with this roster right now, they can compete. This is a team that, in my opinion, can compete for a Super Bowl in the NFC. This
You
is
know those. You watch those kids are swimming in the pool, swimming, and their heads underwater, and you're worried. You're like, "Come up for air, Johnny, come up for air," and then they go, and then they're just back at it again. That's the Bucs in their transition with the quarterbacks. You know, they won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady. Everything was hunky dory, and then you heard Brady on the broadcast talking about, well, they have fun, but I thought winning Super Bowls was fun. This looks fun too. You gave him an A. I'm going to give him an A. Give weapons to Baker Mayfield and just let him cook. Let him cook. And I love bringing Levante David back. That's huge. Chris Godwin's going to be healthy. I'm sure he's getting there right now. He is such a weapon. Hassan Reddick is a guy that we've seen historically has been able to ruin some game plans because of his ability to get to the quarterback. And you talked about Anthony Nelson and Anthony Walker. I say have as many Anthonys on your team because ants is short for Anthony, and ants can lift 80 times their body weight. So get as many ants on your football team as possible, and you will have a really strong team.
Oh, dude, I'd love to see an ant back squad. I feel like they would. You kidding me?
Yeah, dude. Do they stand up? Do they get up and put the bar on their back and squat, or are they like doing like a little
or just a little movement? I think they have to get up on their back.
Because back squat, it would just be a push up for them.
Yeah.
And then front squat, they'd have to like stand.
Front squat, it would look nuts.
Yeah. Rashawn Slater did it. That's what got him so hyped for the draft. Remember? He was in rec specs, front squatting like 600 pounds. Everybody was like, get that guy on my team. I digress.
The one Bucs thing we should talk about, though, OC, no more Liam Cohen.
Yep.
That's huge. And obviously we killed the Lions for losing Ben Johnson. But I do think that at least the Bucs have a guy who was the passing game coordinator under Liam Cohen a year ago, promoted to OC. He went to Yale, Josh Grizzard, intelligent human being, I'm guessing.
Grizzly.
And they almost foolproofed it by adding just more talent to the weapons on this roster. Like you brought back everyone, and then you added more guys.
And you have Baker Mayfield, bro.
Who did it?
It's like having a great babysitter. Like no matter where we go, if we've got, Julie's going to take care of everybody. The kids are going to be safe, fed. The diapers are going to be changed. That's Baker Mayfield, dude. As much fun as we think that Baker Mayfield is, and, I want to go have margaritas with Baker. Like I want to be in the huddle with him. That's what a leader looks like. They don't have that. I mean, I love Jared Goff. I think he's a really good quarterback. And I think the Lions will be all right. But I'm way less concerned about Liam Cohen leaving than I am Ben Johnson leaving.
Yes.
So I'm not going to give them the same treatment because it's it's different quarterbacks.
And because we just saw him, they just had Dave Canales, right? And Baker was great under Dave Canales. And now I think Liam Cohen, they were better under it. The offensive line was also better, and you added Bucky Irving to it, and the talent was better around him. So I do think that it's going to hurt. I don't think it's going to hurt nearly as much as Ben Johnson. And 9.5 right now is their win total over under. I think this could be like a 13-14 win team. Truly. I think this is the clear team one in the South. And really, other people can challenge. They could fall off. Obviously, things can not bounce their way. But I do just think on paper, this team is damn good at this point in time.